Darius Blackman Publishing. My name is Brian Frazier, and I write under the pen name Darius Blackman. I wanted to take some time today to personally introduce readers to my published work, the worlds I have been building, and the reason Darius Blackman Publishing exists. This is not just a bookstore. This is not just a catalog. This is a body of work built around power, pressure, love, legacy, discipline, systems, survival, and truth. Across every genre I write in, whether it is black romance, civic suspense, Afrofuturist science fiction, relationship suspense, men's self-development, or political nonfiction, the work keeps coming back to one central belief: standards matter. History has weight, and responsibility must eventually be faced. I write as Darius Blackman because that name gives me room to build worlds, tell hard truths, explore consequences, and speak to readers across different parts of life. I am a soldier with 22 years of service, a father of 3 daughters, and an independent author building a publishing brand from the ground up. My books are not all the same genre, but they do share the same spine. They ask what people do under pressure. They ask what love costs when truth enters the room. They ask what systems hide when the paperwork looks clean. They ask what men become when they stop drifting. They ask what happens when a people, a city, a family, or a nation refuses to disappear. That is Darius Blackman Publishing. Let me walk you through the catalog. First, I want to start with the Darius Blackman Standard series. This is the part of my work written directly for men who are trying to rebuild themselves, tighten their lives, and live by a higher standard. The books in this series include A Man with Direction, Hold Your Ground, Built for Pressure, The Disciplined Man, and The Provider's Discipline. These books were written for men who are tired of drifting, men who know they have potential but need structure, men who want to become more dependable, more disciplined, more focused, more financially responsible, more emotionally steady, and harder to shake when life gets heavy. In The Disciplined Man, one of the central lines is, "Discipline is what keeps your life from collapsing into whatever feels easiest in the moment." That is the heart of the book. The Disciplined Man is about building order, keeping your word, and taking control of your life. It is not about fake toughness. It is not about pretending to be perfect. It is about becoming the kind of man who can trust himself because his actions finally match his standard. Another line from that book says, "A man becomes what he consistently tolerates." That line matters because most men do not only become what they want, they become what they allow. If you tolerate disorder, excuses, emotional spending, broken promises, weak routines, and unfinished work, those things start shaping you. The Disciplined Man is a book for the man who is ready to stop explaining his inconsistency and start correcting it. Then there is Built for Pressure. Built for Pressure is about calm, steadiness, responsibility, and how men respond when life starts demanding more from them. The book opens with the line, "Pressure tells the truth." That line is the foundation. Pressure tells the truth about your habits. Pressure tells the truth about your emotional control. Pressure tells the truth about your standards, your weak spots, and your excuses. For the last 22 years, I have lived in military environments where pressure was not theory. It was real. It was tied to leadership, responsibility, fatigue, decision-making, and people depending on you when things were not easy. That experience shaped the book. Another line from Built for Pressure says, "Pressure strips performance fast." That is real. Pressure does not care how strong you look when the room is comfortable. It does not care about image. It does not care about speeches. It cares whether you can think, stay composed, keep your word, and remain useful when problems, people, fatigue, and responsibility all arrive at once. That is why the book says, "Calm is a weapon," not because calm is soft, because calm protects clarity, calm protects speech, calm protects judgment, Calm keeps a man useful when other people start unraveling. That is what the Standard series is about. A man with direction speaks to purpose, responsibility, and the danger of drifting. Hold Your Ground speaks to boundaries, self respect, and not over explaining yourself to people who were never going to respect you anyway. The Provider's Discipline speaks to financial control, quiet stability, emotional steadiness, and the kind of responsibility that earns trust. Together, these books are not about empty motivation, they are about standards. Now, let me move into the Oakland Moon series. This is where Darius Blackman romance begins. The Oakland Moon series currently includes Hope After Dark, Crown After Midnight, and Velvet Saints. This is adult black romance, romantic suspense, romantasy, crime, desire, city secrets, and supernatural consequence after dark. Hope After Dark, Oakland Moon, Book 1 opens the door. This is a city at night story. It follows Dr. Candace Monroe, Roman Greer, Club Hope, Oakland, Berkeley, San Jose, Sacramento, and a world where desire, secrecy, power, family inheritance, and old debt all collide. One of the first lines from Hope After Dark is, "Desire had a sound." That line tells you exactly what kind of romance this is. This is not soft romance. This is not a simple love story. This is grown romance with atmosphere, danger, sensuality, spiritual weight, and emotional consequence. Candace Monroe is a therapist trained to hear what people are not saying. Roman Greer is the owner of Club Hope, a powerful man with a dangerous past and a complicated relationship with control. And Club Hope itself is not just a nightclub. The book says Club Hope was not merely a nightclub, it was a weather system. That line matters because Club Hope is where the city gathers its secrets. Money, desire, public image, hidden shame, old wounds, and private hunger all walk into that room under red light. Another line that defines the series is, "Hope ain't always holy." That is the truth of the Oakland Moon world. Hope in this series is not simple. Hope has history. Hope has debt. Hope has secrets underneath it. Hope has women who survived rooms built to dim them. Hope has men who must learn that protection without consent becomes control. In Crown After Midnight, the story continues after Hope changes the room. The book says, "A crown is not always an honor. Sometimes it is a demand." That is the heart of Book 2. Crown After Midnight is about what happens when love stands beside danger and still chooses the morning. It is about Roman and Candace after the first storm, when desire, protection, inheritance, blood, public pressure, and old power test what love can actually carry. This series is for readers who want romance with depth, readers who want black love, danger, sensuality, supernatural pressure, grown conversations, and characters who have to earn their way into each other's lives. Hope After Dark starts the journey. Crown After Midnight raises the cost. Velvet Saints continues the world. And Oakland Moon is only getting bigger. Now, let me talk about the Ledger City series. Ledger City is civic suspense, legal thrillers, political corruption, property theft, public contracts, hidden records, systems that know how to hide harm in paperwork. The Ledger City books include Ledger Line, Quiet Title, Proxy Vote, Common Line, Custody Chain, Debt Ward, and Life Estate. This series is built around one idea: paper can carry a whole life. That line appears across the Ledger City books, and it matters because paperwork is not neutral in this world. A contract can move a family. A title claim can erase inheritance. A vote can be manipulated. A warehouse form can turn a person into inventory. A medical file can become a custody trap. A legal phrase can make theft sound respectable. That is the world of Ledger City. Quiet Title, Book 2, opens with a powerful line. Lydia Shaw hated files that looked too clean. That line is Ledger City in one sentence. Honest paperwork usually has history on it: bent corners, coffee marks, initials, drag marks from real life. But when a file looks too clean, when the language is too polished, when the heirs are suddenly unknown, something else may be happening. Quiet Title is about family land, quiet title actions, missing heirs, and the way power can move through property without looking violent from the outside. One of the warnings in that book says, "Start with the dead who never sold." That is a powerful statement because Ledger City is about refusing to let the record bury people twice. Common Line Book 4 opens with another hard line. Raina Bell had spent 6 years learning how respectable theft dressed itself for daylight. That is the civic suspense voice of this series. Common Line is about maps, neighborhoods, ownership, infrastructure language, and the systems that decide whose warnings get heard. It asks what happens when powerful people describe displacement as progress, when public necessity becomes a cover story, and when neighborhoods are mapped before they are warned. In Kamara, a line appears that also fits Ledger City perfectly. They left out the people, and the answer is that is not an omission, it is a habit. That is Ledger City. That is what the series is exposing. Systems often do not forget people by accident. They are built to leave people out while still looking official. Custody Chain Book 5 pushes that even further. The warehouse says logistics. The records say custody. This book follows Leon Vale, a man trying to move forward through a re-entry work program, only to discover that the paperwork is not tracking goods. It is tracking people. One of the strongest lines from Custody Chain says, "A door could lock. A promise only had to sound open long enough to get a man through it." That is the danger of clean language. Transitional work, community supervision, public service logistics, labor source. These phrases sound administrative, but Ledger City asks what they are hiding. Ledger City is for readers who love suspense with consequence, readers who like law, public corruption, investigative pressure, property, records, systems, and people brave enough to expose a machine that thought clean paperwork could hide dirty harm. Now, let me talk about the Predatory Spouse series. This series is about toxic love, manipulation, military pressure, survival, family, service, emotional damage, and the hard road back to self-respect. The books include The Predatory Spouse, What We Carry, East of Home, The Desert Between, and After the Wire. The Predatory Spouse starts with Malik Carter and a relationship that looks like love before revealing something else. This series is not just about romance gone wrong. It is about the way private choices follow people into every part of life: marriage, service, parenthood, deployment, divorce, recovery, trust, self respect. What We Carry, Book 2, carries that theme forward. The dedication says it is for the survivors, fathers, mothers, and children who carry truth when silence would have been easier. That is exactly what this series is about. It is about what people carry after the relationship ends: the fear, the habits, the shame, the way the past follows you into new places, the way a man or woman can leave danger physically but still have to rebuild the interior life that danger touched. In What We Carry, Malik arrives at Fort Hood, and the book says this place was not going to let him stay small by accident. That line is about scale, but it is also about healing. A bigger post, a bigger test, a bigger version of responsibility. The same book gives us another beautiful line: peace had texture. That line matters because peace is often misunderstood. Peace is not empty. Peace is not weak. Peace is not just the absence of drama. Peace has weight. Peace has texture. Peace has a discipline of its own. In this series, toxic love is not treated like entertainment. It is treated as something that leaves marks, something that reshapes trust, something that demands honesty before anyone can truly move forward. East of Home explores survival after toxic love. The desert between explores the space between leaving and healing. After the Wire explores how some battles follow you home. The Predatory Spouse series is for readers who want emotional suspense, military life, relationship damage, survival, and the kind of fiction that gets close to the bone. Now, let me talk about Kimara. The Kimara books include The Awakening of Kimara, The First Signal, Kimara Unbound, and Kimara, The Third Signal. This is Black speculative fiction, Afrofuturist science fiction, hidden power, public truth, cosmic mystery, supernatural pressure, and people discovering that the world is larger than they were told. Kimara. The Third Signal is a signal story. The author note says pressure reveals what people know, fear, hide, and finally choose. That is the human center of the Kimara world. The signal is not just science fiction spectacle, it is a pressure point. It asks what happens when knowledge can no longer stay hidden. It asks what happens when a force once kept behind walls begins answering back. One line from Kamara says, "Small things were often more honest than prepared language." That line could describe so much of my writing, because across these books, the small things tell the truth. A cup left untouched, a file that looks too clean, a man who speaks too fast, a room that goes quiet, a signal that refuses to stay buried. Another line says, "They left out the people." And again, that is not an omission, it is a habit. Kamara takes that same concern into speculative fiction. Systems, power, secrecy, public truth, and memory all move through a larger cosmic frame. The book also says, "Then we tell the truth while it is still inconvenient." That is one of the strongest lines in the Kamara world, because truth that arrives too late often costs more. Kamara is for readers who love Black speculative fiction with pressure, identity, hidden power, public witness, and human responsibility at the center. Now let me talk about the Empire of Kemet series. The Empire of Kemet books include The Exodus of Kemet, Convergence War, Fractured Infinity, and Throne of Convergence. This is Afrofuturist science fiction rooted in ancient Kemet, hidden history, advanced civilization, identity, power, war, legacy, and survival beyond Earth. The question behind the series is powerful. What if the fall of Kemet was not the end? What if it was the beginning of a hidden survival plan? That is the kind of Afrofuturism I wanted to write. Not just technology, not just ships, war, and spectacle, legacy, memory, civilization. What a people carry when the world thinks they have disappeared, what it means to survive beyond the record, what it means to build an empire that still has to answer for what it protects and what it demands. The Empire of Kemet series is for readers who want ancient legacy, futuristic stakes, political pressure, civilization level conflict, and Black speculative storytelling with scale. The Exodus of Kemet begins the hidden survival plan. Convergence War asks what happens when survival becomes contact. Fractured Infinity asks what happens when reality starts revealing what Kemet was never allowed to become. Throne of Convergence raises the crown, the burden, and the final test of power. Now, beyond the major series, there are other works in the catalog that show how wide Darius Blackman Publishing is becoming. The Things That Don't Leave is a novel of war, love, and consequence. That title alone speaks to one of the deepest truths in my fiction. Some things do not leave just because the war is over. CDL, Without the Noise, is a practical book for people trying to pass the CDL test, avoid restrictions, and start smart. That book belongs to the same larger publishing mission. Take something that feels confusing and make it useful, direct, and clear. Debt Without End is my political nonfiction work on reparations in the United States. This is one of the most serious subjects I have written about. That book is about history, policy, economic outcome, unpaid debt, and the way generations of Black Americans were forced to carry the cost of systems built to extract labor, limit ownership, block opportunity, and protect accumulated advantage. That book matters because it is not about slogans. It is about the case. It is about history. It is about what the country still refuses to fully account for. And that brings me back to the larger mission. Darius Blackman Publishing is not built around one kind of story. It is built around consequence. In the Standard series, consequence shows up in a man's private life. If he does not build order, disorder sends the bill. In Oakland Moon, consequence shows up in romance, desire, power, and inheritance. If people do not face what they want and what they owe, the room starts speaking for them. In Ledger City, consequence shows up in paperwork, property, contracts, votes, and courts. If systems hide harm long enough, the record starts becoming a weapon. In the Predatory Spouse series, consequence shows up in relationships, service, family, and survival. If toxic love goes unnamed, it follows people into every room they enter after. In Kamara, consequence shows up through signals, power, secrecy, and public truth. If a force has been hidden too long, one day it answers back. In Empire of Kemet, consequence shows up at the level of civilization. If a people survive, they still have to decide what survival means. That is why readers will find different genres here, but the same core: truth, pressure, legacy, responsibility, survival, love, systems, standards. That is the Darius Blackman voice. I write books for readers who want more than escape. Now, do I want readers entertained? Absolutely. I want them pulled into Club Hope. I want them standing in Ledger City with a record in their hands. I want them feeling the pressure in the Standard series. I want them walking with Malik through the army world of the Predatory Spouse series. I want them hearing the signal in Kamara. I want them discovering Kemet and asking what it means for a civilization to survive beyond the story people were told. But I also want readers to leave with something: a question, a line, a standard, a sharper eye for language, a deeper respect for what people carry. That is the brand. Books with weight, books with consequence, books that understand the room is never just the room. A nightclub can carry old debt, a courthouse file can carry theft, a warehouse can carry custody, a relationship can carry danger. A signal can carry truth. A man's private routine can carry the future he is building. That is what I want readers to understand when they come to Darius Blackman Publishing. There is something here for the romance reader. There is something here for the man trying to rebuild himself. There is something here for the reader who loves legal thrillers and civic suspense. There is something here for the reader who wants Black speculative fiction and Afrofuturist legacy. There is something here for readers who want books that speak to real pressure, real history, real survival, and real consequence. So start where the room calls you. Start with Hope After Dark if you want romance, desire, danger, and Oakland After Dark. Start with The Disciplined Man if you want order, standards, and a stronger private life. Start with Built for Pressure if you want calm, steadiness, and strength under stress. Start with Ledgerline or Quiet Title if you want civic suspense and systems that hide harm in the record. Start with The Predatory Spouse if you want relationship suspense, survival, and the emotional cost of toxic love. Start with The Awakening of Kamara if you want hidden power and speculative mystery. Start with The Exodus of Kemet if you want Afrofuturist science fiction rooted in ancient legacy. Start with Debt Without End if you want political nonfiction that takes history seriously. Wherever you start, you are entering the same larger body of work. Darius Blackman Publishing is about stories that carry weight. Books about power, books about pressure, books about love, books about legacy, books about discipline, books about systems, books about survival, and books about the truth people eventually have to face. Again, my name is Brian Fraser, and I write under the pen name Darius Blackman. Thank you for taking the time to learn more about my published work. Welcome to Darius Blackman Publishing. Welcome to Books with Consequence.